these two sisters, I thought they were friends, but they're actually sisters, are going to get together and talk about Chrystul Kizer. Oh, they also talk about the hot dog eating champion choking this dude who jumped on stage or something. That's a real hoot. I'll let you watch that on your own, though. We're interested in the Chrystul Kizer case, and as usual, they're going to screw everything up. But this one is even worse than what they've done in the past. If you find that hard to believe, stay tuned. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
So we have some good news in the Chrystul Kizer case.
Yeah.
You may remember Chrystul Kizer. We covered her case back in February. She is a young woman who had been sexually assaulted and trafficked by a man named Randall Voller III.
Now, Chrystul Kizer claims she was trafficked. That has not been proven, but they accept it at face value.
Yes. And this all started when she was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
When she was 17, she shot and killed Voller, lit his house on fire, and fled in his car.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that all? I can't believe that people are making such a big deal out of this.
She was arrested and charged, obviously, with several felonies, arson and first-degree murder.
Yeah.
Now, Chrystul doesn't dispute the fact that she did what she did.
Yeah.
But what people
She's
don't
actually been very forthcoming.
She has.
Oh, yeah, she's been very forthcoming. She first told the police that she didn't know Randall Voller. And then they said, yeah, Chrystul, I think you did. And then that's when she says, oh, I guess I've run into him in the past. Yeah, Chrystul, it looks to me like you actually know him very well. And so she said, well, okay, but he was raping me at the time. And they said, Chrystul, no, stop it. Come up with the truth for a change. He was sitting in his chair. You shot him from behind with a pistol. He wasn't raping you. And so at that point, the attorney stepped in and they said, hey, Chrystul, you know what? There's this sexual trafficking exception here that we might be able to rely on to get you off the hook. And that's when she said, I was sexually trafficked. I was sexually trafficked. Yeah, she's been very forthcoming.
And the challenge is, so she's awaiting trial. And her defense team wants to use a new law in Wisconsin that gives victims of human trafficking or child sex trafficking an affirmative defense for any offense committed as a direct result. Right. Basically, that if you kill your abuser because you're being trafficked, that is self-defense.
Yeah.
No, that's not what they're claiming. It doesn't use the term self-defense at all. But, okay, I'll let this one slide. Because I suppose somebody could look at it in that light.
Yeah.
Also, this law says, without regard to whether anyone was prosecuted or convicted for the underlying sex crime or crimes, because Voller was not.
No.
However, Chrystul is not his only accuser by any means.
Oh, no.
So this went all the way to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And they have ruled in Chrystul's favor.
Yeah.
They're saying, yes, she can move forward and she can use this defense.
Yeah.
Now, it was very interesting because a lot of the question about...
By the way, that's not entirely true. Whether the jury is going to be allowed to consider her claims is another matter, and that's up to the judge who's presiding over her trial. The same judge that denied her this affirmative defense in the first place. So she can present some evidence to suggest that this affirmative defense law applies to her, but it's up to the judge to allow the jury to consider it. Hey, just trying to be accurate.
About whether or not she could use it was that this law is fairly broad. And it doesn't give a lot of limitations. And that's what the prosecution didn't like. So
Right.
they had two questions to answer, the Wisconsin Supreme Court. The first was what offense committed as a direct result of the sex crime violation actually means.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it means any offense up to and including first-degree murder.
Mm-hmm.
They also said how far a defendant's would-be affirmative defense actually goes.
Right.
Again, it would go to the point of defending them against first-degree murder.
Which is really important for Chrystul's case, right? Because this was premeditated. He wasn't actively trafficking her at the time that she killed him.
Right.
At the moment she killed him, I should say.
Right.
And so I isn't that correct that prosecutors came back and were like, hey, she drove over to his house or took a bus and she did this shit and stole his
Right.
car. So initially she was not going to be afforded these rights.
Right. They've had to fight really hard to get this. But the
Yeah.
bottom line is she was a 17-year-old child who was being assaulted and trafficked by this man. And I don't care when she planned his demise. She was fighting for her own life.
Yeah.
And she knew it.
And the life of others. She's been clear about that she knew that he was also trafficking other girls and that she felt like the only way to save all of them was to exterminate him.
Yeah. Guess what? We typically don't allow this type of activity, okay? You might feel that a person in your town is a serious threat. You can't just go and kill them. This law opens up all kinds of terrible possibilities. I'm telling you, they had better do something about this. This opens up the opportunity for people to take out revenge on anybody who has wronged them in the past as far as sexual trafficking goes. What about a year later? Can you just decide you're going to go after somebody and kill them because they sexually trafficked you? We don't allow people to take the law into their own hands. You may be abused by your spouse. Doesn't give you an excuse to shoot them. Sure, if they're attacking you at the moment and you have to do it to save your own life at that time, you can. This is going way beyond that. We have the police. And when you have the police, you're supposed to go to the police so that you don't have to kill people.
Yeah. And she did that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very happy for her, and I'm very happy for trafficking victims in general.
Yeah.
They have the right to defend themselves, to protect themselves, right up and including murdering someone who will not stop harming them.
Yep.
Right up to murdering somebody so that they won't do it again. Mm-hmm. Preemptive strikes, revenge strikes, all legal now.
And so the court's ruling is really
terrible,
groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
In lower courts, they said that she would have to prove a very narrow time frame to connect the sex abuse and her retribution. But there is no time frame in the law. It does not say that this had to have just happened or within the last week or even in the last day. It doesn't say that at all. There's no time frame at all.
That's right. Or even in the last year. You know what? You want to kill somebody? That's okay. I'll do it tomorrow.
That's huge distinctions that, could reverberate widely. That's amazing. It's actually really amazing.
It is. It's the beginning of seeing the courts have a better understanding of abuse and trafficking victims.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you've been trafficked like that, you live in fear every moment of your life that it's going to happen again.
That's right. The same thing happens to kids because of their parents who are abusing them. The same thing happens to spouses because their spouses are abusing them. We don't allow people to just kill people to get out of their situations. Yes, if their life is being threatened at that moment or they face serious bodily injury, no doubt about it, you can do it. But other than that, we normally don't allow that to happen. And now we're going to. And this is going to open up all sorts of avenues for abuse. The Supreme Court of Wisconsin really, really screwed up here. After all, if, say, I'm being sexually trafficked and I don't like it, and I want to take out revenge on the person because, you know what, I didn't like the arrangements that are going on here. But even if I have a bus ticket in my pocket that would allow me to escape the violence, I am still allowed to kill the person. Directly related to sexual trafficking, there's no stipulations there that the person has to be able to escape or not. This is insane, and neither of these two could understand the problem.
And I don't care how...
He had a lot of manipulation tactics. I mean, he'd do things like stalk her wherever she was.
Mm-hmm.
He was constantly just showing up in that freaking car.
Yep.
And watching her and just making sure she knew that he knew what she was up to.
Yeah,
she wasn't safe.
That's right. She wasn't safe. So you call the police. If he's stalking her, it's a crime. They can investigate and arrest him. And you might be saying, well, calling the police wouldn't have been enough. That would not have done the trick. I mean, the police might not have done anything. That's true for all crimes. We don't know if the police are going to take action against those who attack us. But that doesn't allow you the right to go out preemptively and kill somebody because you think they might attack you later.
She was never safe.
She was never safe. He was drugging her.
Mm-hmm.
And also they say that she was never safe. She was in Milwaukee at the time, fairly far from Kenosha. Does she have evidence to show that he would have traveled to Milwaukee and done something horrible to her? I doubt it.
And, you know, when a child has experienced abuse with an adult, sometimes they form kind of a trauma bond with that person. And that, I think, is true of Chrystul, because Chrystul was very upset and went to visit David looking for support.
No, it's not David, it's Randall, but okay. Yeah, she might have formed a trauma bond. That doesn't give her the right to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, that does happen. You know,
she lived with David for a time.
She did. She wasn't living with him at the time that she killed him.
No.
But
that's right. She wasn't living with him at the time. Now, if he was that possessive, why did he allow her to live somewhere else? She's going to have to explain that to the prosecution when they ask her. How much fear was she really in when he allowed her to move out? And he didn't require that she even live in the same town. She lived 45 miles away. This story of hers is going to come apart. I'm guaranteeing it.
She, in some ways, saw him as a support for her.
Mm-hmm.
So she left, moved away, moved out. Really? That's your argument, that she felt that he was a support for her, but she moved out of his house?
Which you can imagine in these kinds of relationships, how mixed up and confusing it can be when you are a child.
Well, yeah, because he was giving her money.
Yeah.
He was giving her drugs.
And that allows her to kill him, I guess.
He was meeting her needs in some ways, while, of course, shredding her life in many others.
Right.
And that's the biggest argument. When we published this story the first time, we had a few really vicious comments towards Chrystul and towards us, honestly, that, you know, that this is just cut and dried. This was just another junkie, blah, blah, blah. But it's not. And the thing that people just cannot seem to understand is that we are talking about a child.
Yeah.
You cannot apply your logic of how an adult may respond to something or do something to scared kids. You can't.
No,
you know, the arguments, of course, were that it was premeditated, that she had never turned him into the police, that she wasn't, you know, hadn't actively tried to get this stopped through legal channels. It doesn't matter. But also, kids frequently don't go through the right channels.
So you can allow them to kill their parents. Why not? Remember, kids don't always go through the right channels. So their only alternative is to kill their parents if they're being abused. Are we going to allow that to happen too? I know that there is no law right now that allows this affirmative defense to apply to spousal abuse or parent abuse or child abuse, but the same arguments should be applicable to those as well. Long-term relationships with total control, long-term abuse, a cycle of terror, all those things apply to spousal abuse and child abuse, but we don't allow kids and wives and husbands to kill each other without at least going to the proper channels of trying to solve the problem. But here, you can just rub out your pimp if you want. You've been sexually trafficked and you don't like it, shoot the man. And you don't have to do it at the moment that you're being hurt. Yeah, you can do it tomorrow. Wait a week or so. Wait till he's unsuspecting. And then sneak up behind him, blow his brains out, and, oh, I was sexually trafficked, so I get to get away with it. And I know the Supreme Court has arguments in there that says that such a thing can't happen. It can. Nothing that they have in their decision would rule that out. Take a look at what it says. Did you have to have a direct result of sexual trafficking? Well, if you're seeking revenge from somebody for sexual trafficking you, that seems to be a direct result of sexual trafficking. And the other stipulation is that it can't be primarily based on something else. Well, in this case, it wouldn't be. I shot him because he was sexual trafficking me and I hated it. Therefore, you're free. This is insane.
Right. They may not even know what they are.
Understand her background or why she might have been afraid to go to the authorities, or if she did and was just blown off. There's a lot we don't know. But you can't assume to know why somebody does the things that they do, particularly in the cases of teenagers, because you can't understand the things they do, especially ones that have been traumatized like this.
Absolutely.
You have to realize that the rules of what you think an adult would do not apply.
Right.
They often don't apply to adults either, to be fair. But in the case of kids and teenagers that have been traumatized, and she had a lot of trauma in her life before this asshole came into it.
Oh, I see. The law says that if you've had a lot of trauma in your life, this law doesn't apply to you. Really? I looked. It doesn't say that. That's the kind of thing that you would take into account during the sentencing. The person's been convicted. You look into their background. You have a little bit more of an understanding how this could have happened. And then so you apply a lighter sentence to them. You don't allow people to simply get away with crime because of their background.
You can't apply what you think she should do to her. You just can't.
No.
Or if you do, you're going to, you'll be on the wrong side of it.
Really? So what about this cars she was stealing? Should we allow her to get away with that too? I mean, your argument is we can't understand her. I mean, she's a young kid. She's experienced a lot of trauma in her life. So how can we apply any law to her?
Right. Well, and we also have to remember that Chrystul Kizer is black and Voller was white.
Oh, that makes the big difference there, because the law clearly says that, well, when they're of different races, oh, that's a different story. Give me a break. Why do we have to remember that? Explain why it matters that Randall Voller was white. Where is the connection here? Would it have been better if Randall Voller was black? Would that somehow have improved things for Chrystul?
Yeah.
And that was the other part of this. I'm sure that she had fear about reporting it and if she would be believed.
Well, and the level of gaslighting and manipulation that had gone on for all this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever it was that she believed, or that the threats that he had given to her, over time, there's just
whatever it is that he had made her believe was bad enough that she believed that the only way to be free of him was to kill him.
Listen to this story. Because she killed him, therefore she must have had a good reason to do so. Therefore, she's not guilty. That's the logic. If you kill somebody, well, you must have had a damn good reason for doing so. So therefore, you're not guilty.
I mean, let that sink in a little bit. That was the level of desperation she was at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, wait until Michael Gravely presents evidence to show that she might have killed Randall Volar just to get his car. We'll see. But this notion of Chrystul Kizer being this young, innocent black girl is going to fall apart. She's made a lot of statements that indicate that this was more than just about getting revenge for sexual trafficking.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now when she goes to court, she can present her entire defense, including self-defense based on sex trafficking.
Yeah, but the jury doesn't have to be willing to consider it, though. That's up to the judge. So she's not out of the woods at all. And this is going to force her to take the stand. She has to take the stand to put in place this evidence that she needs to get her affirmative defense in front of the jury. And Mike Gravely is going to absolutely skewer her. Again, as I've said before, he's no Binger. He's no Krause. Michael Gravely is a serious prosecutor. He's good at what he does, and he is going to absolutely impale her on her own words.
Yeah. Good.
Here's the thing with the whole self-defense thing. Wisconsin has painted themselves into a Kyle Rittenhouse shaped corner when it comes to self-defense. And when he was acquitted, the first thing that came out is that people were looking at the Chrystul Kizer case going, are you friggin' kidding me? This kid who showed up with a gun to a protest felt scared and was acquitted.
Yeah, he was 17 and just a child. Oh, wait. That doesn't apply to Kyle for some reason. And keep in mind, Kyle didn't go to the protest to shoot people. There is no evidence, none whatsoever, that such is the case. However, we have evidence that she traveled to Kenosha to murder that man. She texted it. She said that's why she was going there. She carried a gun with her, not for self-protection like Kyle claimed, but specifically to kill him. And then after the killing, she went on and bragged about it. Did Kyle do something like that? No, but if he had, those two would have been all over it. He can't possibly be innocent because look what he said on Facebook after the shooting. But they're going to completely ignore it.
The Chrystul Kizer, who was being trafficked by an adult, commit murder when she killed the man who was ruining her life and who she would never be free of. Yeah. No.
She would never be free of. No, if she had gone to the authorities, she might have been free of him. People are forgetting this. He had been arrested. He was going to go to trial at some point. Mike Gravely could not have sat on that forever. And her testimony would have probably put him away for a very long time. She had the opportunity to get away from him. She chose to kill him instead.
And so that's where this got pushed really hard, is after Rittenhouse, because her attorneys were like, hold the phone.
Right. We want a bite of that too. Yeah.
And I do think, that we're seeing ramifications there that at least are good.
Yeah.
Chrystul Kizer does not deserve to go to prison for the rest of her life.
No.
Yes, you don't know the true story. I am sorry you have painted yourselves this picture of her. She is a violent criminal. We know she's a criminal. She's been stealing cars for quite a while. She led police on a high-speed pursuit after she stole a car. And as far as violence goes, well, she did admit that she went to Kenosha to kill the man, but she also bragged about it. She even bragged about the popping sound that Randall Volar's head made when she slammed a bullet into it. Wait till that comes out during the trial, ladies. And I want to see you defend that kind of rhetoric. Innocent little lamb, my ass.
By any means does she
needs help.
She needs help.
This was like the biggest cry for help that's ever happened.
Right.
Yeah, shooting somebody in the back of the head is a cry for help, huh? Okay, you stick to that.
and she needs to be protected. She needs the system to protect her and acknowledge that her life was in danger and she knew it and she had to defend herself. So this is big. This is big news. This is big for trafficking victims in other states that this precedent is being set.
Absolutely.
And I just got to say, I'm happy for Chrystul.
Yeah.
Just because my heart really goes out to her and everything that she's been through. And to think that she would go to prison for the rest of her life for defending her own life is just, it's so wrong. So.
She wasn't defending her own life. She was in Milwaukee. He was in Kenosha. She took the Uber to his house to kill him. She didn't have to. She could have stayed in Milwaukee. If she's going to claim that he would have come after her, she'd better have the evidence to show that.
So really grateful to see that this is...
I just hope that the other states are not as stupid as Wisconsin in drafting such an idiotic law. You have a duty to turn over to the authorities if you are being wronged. That's how we do it in this country. Sure, there may be situations where you can't, and you have to defend your life at that moment. If you don't take action, serious bodily injury or fatality will occur to you at that time, an infringement on your civil liberty, so you have to take action. This is not that at all. This is revenge killing. This is preemptive strikes. We don't allow people to do that kind of crap. Well, we didn't until Wisconsin decided to. This is horrible. Any rate, like my video, subscribe to my channel.